Hey, it's Krista and welcome back to my channel. And so for today's video, we're going to be talking about breaking down different words in the Bible that we may not have a full understanding of what they mean and whatnot. And so that we may hear them a lot in church culture or in church language. You may hear these words being used, but you may not fully understand what they mean. And so what the purpose of these videos are is that these videos are for you to break down for you in a safe form and fashion what certain words mean, so that the goal of this is to remove the barriers. So we want to remove the barriers between you and the Bible. We want to remove the barriers between you and God, and making sure that what you think you're hearing and what you think that you're interpreting, you actually are. And so all of the words that we're breaking down here, we're breaking them down from the original Greek and Hebrew words and definitions that have been used for these. And so where we find them, this is what I use. I use a handy dandy concordance. And so this concordance right here, it is the Strong's Exhaustive Expanded Edition. And it has every word. You see, this sucker, it's thick. So nice and heavy. Every word that was written in the Greek and Hebrew version of the Bible that has been translated to English is broken down within this particular concordance. So with it, you can take all of the English words and then you compare them up with the original Greek and Hebrew words and see what the original meaning meant. And so with that, what they were saying 2,000 years ago to each other is, different than what we say today to one another in our culture. And so what we want to do is that we want to be very careful that we don't superimpose our Western culture on the Bible to say that what we think we would say today is what they said 2,000 years ago. And so that's what we don't want to do. So how we can figure out what was originally said is by getting a concordance and breaking down and see what the original definitions mean. So with that, today's word of the day. So the word that we're going to be breaking down today is iniquity. And if you are anything like me, if you were raised in any type of, Baptist culture, Southern Baptist, anything like that, you heard the word iniquity 24/7 when you were at church. And so it was, we were all shaped in iniquity. God, passes judgment on our iniquities, but never really broke down what iniquities mean. So thanks to our handy dandy concordance, y'all like my drum roll on that? So thanks to our concordance, we're breaking down what iniquity means. And iniquity, the original word for it in Hebrew is avon. Avon is the original word for iniquity. And what that means, it means perversity or evil or guilt. So when the Bible says that you were shaped in iniquity, it means that you were shaped in perversion. You were shaped in evil. You were shaped in guilt. And it's like, okay, that word has definitely been used to, kind of beat some of us over the head to make us feel bad about ourselves. And that is the strict definition of what iniquity means right there. So when it means perversion or guilt, like it wants you to feel bad about yourself. Like how you were created, like perversion means to be bent or twisted or bowed out of shape. It means you took something and you twisted it. You made it into a form. You perverted it into a form in which it was not meant to be used. And so with that, when we think about ourselves, I know like for me personally, I really struggled with low self-esteem for a long time. And that was a perversion in me. That was a twisting, that was a bending, inflicting guilt on me about how I thought that I should be, what I was capable of, what I wanted to be, but I didn't necessarily wanted to know how to express it and whatnot. That is what iniquity is. It means that once we fell in the Garden of Eden, once Adam and Eve fell at the beginning of time, um, they were then shaped and twisted and bent and formed into perversion. They were bent and they were formed out of God's original view for them, out of His original creation for them. And they were turned into something that made them feel bad about themselves. They were turned into something that made them deny themselves. They were turned into something that made them attack themselves. They were turned into something, you fill in the blank. And so you get with the point that it meant that we were turned into something we were not created to be. And so with that, whenever you can see when iniquity is showing up in your life, you can definitely see when it's showing up, because when it shows up, when you reach higher, when you go higher and you be like, man, I really could do this. I really could. Man, I feel this. I can embody this. And then something slaps and takes you right back down. That's iniquity. That is the perversion. That is the guilt. That is the evil that has been pressed upon you to take you out of your original form. Your original form was one of likeness with God. And so you were one that was created to be, to embody all of the characteristics that God Himself has, that you were to carry out in a physical form here on earth. And so I think another one of the words that we're going to do and we're going to break down is the word sin. And what does the word sin actually entail and embody? But with that, you were turned to go against you. Like when darkness entered in, you were turned against yourself. And what we have to do is we now have to fight that nature that wants to kill the dream inside of us, that wants to bring us back, wants to be our own crabs in a barrel. We have to now fight the nature against that to get us back to the original form that we were in, which is one of the heavenly light, one of complete knowledge of who we are and so what we were created to do. We now have to get back to that particular version and image of ourselves. So with that, when you hear the word iniquity, just switch it out for perversion. Switch it out for the twisting and the bending and the shaping of what you were not created to be. And so switch it out for guilt. So if you really struggle with guilt, like this is 101. This is, Satan's boot. This is Satan's playbook 101. Like, he meant to hit you with guilt from the very beginning. We saw that in the Garden of Eden when they were hiding from God and they was like, I was naked and I was ashamed. They were also very guilty in that same moment as well. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we strip ourselves of that. That was the whole purpose of why Jesus came, was to take away all the guilt and the shame and the perversion and to restore us back to the original version that we were created to embody. One thing that we can really hang our hats on is that you have not fully embraced everything that Jesus has done for you until you are 100% back at your original creation, an original version that you have reached. So it's not just enough that Jesus saved you and you're on your way to heaven and stuff like that. He also saved you and restored you and reconciled you with God so that you can show completely out here on earth. And you can do so from a godly perspective. You can do so from knowing 100% whose you are and who you are, so that you can go forward and you can start to take back territory from the kingdom of darkness that perverted you in the first place. So with that, definitely let me know if this video has helped you in identifying what iniquity means when you hear it now, and what other words you want to have broken down. So make sure that you drop that into the comments below. I'll be checking the comments to see what other videos need to be created so we can release the stigma of only a certain people are supposed to know what the Bible means. And we can release the stigma of hiding and shame because we don't fully understand what the word means, even though we want to. And so even though we want to, we may not fully understand what some of these words mean. I myself, I'm not a pastor. I'm not anybody's pastor. I'm not anybody's teacher. I am a person that has just been struggling with this on my own particular journey for years. I have been a Christian. I have been saved, baptized, on my way to heaven, filled with the Holy Ghost, all that other lingo that church people say. I have been a Christian for almost 20 years now, and I am just now understanding what some of these words mean. Now having gone deeper into the word on my own. It wasn't anything that I learned in church. It wasn't anything that somebody else taught me. It was really me taking the wherewithal to be like, I'm going to sit down and learn what these words mean. I'm going to buy a concordance for myself so I can look up these words and see what they mean in the original language. And then I'm not just going to rely on the English translation and version and definitions of these words. I'm going to look up the originals of that. So with that, all of these videos come from my own trial and error that I had to I had to go through in order to come to this point today. So with that, everything that I'm sharing with you is something that that has been hard fought in my life, that I want to make sure that I pass on to you because I want you to have those victories as well. Like when some of these words are being said and they're being passed around in, church communities, church languages, church cultures and stuff like that, they're not always taking the time to break down what they truly mean. And that's what I want to show you. That's what I want to impart to you today so that you can be armed with the knowledge of being able to have these words for yourself so that you can go forward and you can understand and you can use them and you can get that much more closer to God. You can develop that much more intimacy with God because you understand now what some of these words mean. And even with that, when you're going through and you're doing your own studies with this, because I highly encourage you not just to take my word for it, because there are a million people on the internet and there are a million people that are out here telling you stuff that is wrong. I want you to fact check everything that I tell you for yourself, because it is then that you will be able to know and understand that what is being said to you is good. So go pick this up. I'll drop the link to this in the show notes below so that you can have your own copy. I think that this is like $40. I think it's like $40 on Amazon. And so when you have that and you're able to take the time to break down what these words mean, it relieves so much. It relieves so much in your life, and you really begin to understand and realize, and it takes a burden off of you to where you're not just out here wandering in the woods, but that you truly understand what God is saying and what He's saying to you throughout His Word. And so with that, let me know what other words you want to have broken down so that we can get them in, today's 2021 terms of what the Bible meant 2,000 years ago when they said these particular words. So let me know down below, and if this video was helpful for you in any kind of way, please make sure that you click that like button. And if you want to make sure that you continue to catch the words that are being dropped here, that you have the breakdowns and the definitions and stuff going forward, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and that you share this with someone else that can benefit it as well. And so as always, I'm here for you. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all soon. Peace.